Well, hi guys, it's that time. It's our Tuesday testimony. I want to go back to when I was in Wichita Falls, Texas. I worked with a gentleman that had an overeating problem and could not control his appetite and his drive to always eat something. He was a little bit overweight, not horribly overweight. I've seen people much, much heavier, but he was overweight. He was a diabetic. And of course, all of the other complications, I'm sure, cholesterol, high blood pressure. But he also had some physical issues, like his calves below his knees down were swollen really bad. And he had sores on his feet, and literally he could barely get up and down. And, it was very touching when he tried to talk to me because he could barely keep his composure. Now, this is a grown man, I would say, in his 40s, and he's so emotionally torn over the fact that he cannot control his eating habits, that he can hardly talk to me without crying. He asked me, he said, "Do you really think that I want to be this way, that I can't even get up off the couch and go play with my own grandkids because my legs and my feet won't let me?" No. Every time I walk by my refrigerator, there's a roaring in my head, not my stomach, in my head, and it's just drawing me toward food. And I get up in the middle of the night craving it. He said, it's like he's a drug addict, but he's a food addict instead. So, and I'll throw this in as well. Most of the time when I minister to people, I really prefer to be alone with them because I respect them and their private matters. And as you know, if you've listened to me before, I usually don't use names of people unless they tell me it's okay. And even then, if I don't think that it would be good for them, I don't use their names. So we're going to call this guy Bill, which is not his real name, but we're going to call him Bill today. But I also like to get people in a room privately away from other people, so because healing is private, okay? You want people to be able to open up and be honest with you about what's going on with them, and if they've got 5 or 6 people standing around, chances are they're not going to be as open to telling you and talking to you. They're not going to be as relaxed, and actually it's harder for them to receive their healing when they are a little bit tense. And so I usually will ask someone to sit down or lay down and lay their head back and close their eyes and get very, very comfortable, because these are things that I do where I see the greatest results when I work with people. So I'm going to tell you the story. He went through all of his problems and everything and was really a broken man. And I said, "Well, do you want to be free?" And he said, "Of course, that's the most, I want to be free from this. I have been this way since I was a young boy. Most of my family members have this same issue, and I just don't want to live this way anymore." He starts crying and he starts telling me, he says, "I have prayed, I have sought out something to try to get me different diets and different programs. I just want to quit fighting this and be free." So I told him, I said, "Well, that's good, because after today, you are going to be free, because who the Son, Jesus, sets free is free indeed. And this will be the beginning of a completely new life for you, because you're not going to hear that roaring in your head ever again. And you will not be forced into eating things that you don't want to eat to settle yourself down." So I had him do what I asked people to do, to relax and close his eyes. And I cast out the spirit of gluttony, spirit of addiction, and any other unclean spirit within the sound of my voice. And I commanded those spirits to go and to stay gone. And I rendered them mute and told them that they could not communicate and send any other unclean spirits back to take their place, and for them to go directly to the abyss, the pit of darkness, until their day of judgment. So did you get all that? It sounds complicated, but unclean spirits are very legalistic. Like if you tell them, "I command you to go," they're going to sit there and go, "Well, I know I have to go, but Shen told me that I have to go now." And then, of course, if you tell them they've got to go now, they will be thinking, "Well, I had to leave, but I can always go back." And if you tell them they can't come back, they will tell other unclean spirits, "Hey, you need a new place. I know where I can send you." So I do some things very strategically. So I tell them that they will be leaving. They will be rendered mute from this point forward forevermore, that they will not be able to communicate with any other unclean spirits to send them back to take their place, and they will go directly to the pit of darkness or the abyss. And then as I tell them to leave, I pretty much get on to them and tell them they have to go now, this very moment. So I did this. And look, when this guy felt this unclean spirits, more than one, he had about 3 actually, but that's a different teaching. But all of that left him, and he felt that leave him. And then I prayed and laid hands on him and commanded his body, you're no longer held in captivity. You have been set free. You're no longer oppressed, and you will and can obey my words. So in the name of Jesus, I commanded his body to be healed and spoke to all of the different things going on with him. Before I wrap up today, I want to tell you, yes, people can have more than one unclean spirit. And yes, Christians can have unclean spirits because, quite frankly, guys, they're all trespassing. Any unclean spirit, even on an unbeliever, that unclean spirit is trespassing. They have no rights to be on any human being. They're looking for a body because they don't have a body. And so I want to give you some scripture references. If you look in Luke chapter 8, verse 2, and Mark chapter 16, verse 9, you will see that Mary Magdalene had 7 demons or 7 unclean spirits that Jesus cast off of her. So yes, my friends, a person can have more than one unclean spirit. And remember the man with the pigs, he had a legion, and I've read many different places. It could be 2,000 and as much as 6,000. A legion is just a very, very large number related to the Roman army, okay? But before I let you go today, I want to tell you 1 or 2 more things. The spirit of gluttony is related to the spirit of addiction. And the spirit of addiction is actually a spirit of lust. And I don't really like to call them a spirit of lust. I like to call them a spirit of perversion, because a spirit of perversion takes a normal thing and turns it into something uncontrollable and crazy. And it's just demonic is what it is. But guys, listen, I will teach a little more on that another time. But I have talked to this man, and he did that night when he went to bed. He did not wake up hungry, and when he let their little puppy out in the middle of the night, he didn't have the roaring in his head. Because I told him, I said, you're not going to have that roaring, and he didn't. And he calls me, I guess it was probably maybe 30 hours later or whatever, and again, he was having a hard time keeping his composure and not crying, because this is something he has dealt with since he was just a 5-year-old kid or so. And this man was telling me that he has felt different ever since that night that I spent 15 to 20 minutes with him, setting him free. Well, guys, I love you, and I'm going to just let you go. I got a lot of work to do. I'll see you here again on Facebook. Bye-bye.